This happened in the summer after my junior year of college. My three roommates, Tyler, Jenna, Matt, and I, decided to go camping on the Oregon coast. We had been planning a trip like this for months, but that summer we were all short on money. So instead of paying for a regular campground, we chose a free beach camping spot. Matt had found the spot on a website that listed dispersed camping areas along the coast. It was south of Bandon, down a gravel road that turned into sand after about half a mile. The four of us had camped together a few times before, so we felt comfortable trying a more remote location. We arrived around 5 p.m. and found a spot right where the beach met the tree line. A large piece of driftwood created a natural windbreak, and the sand was fairly flat. The area was mostly empty. We saw one other group packing up, but they were leaving as we got there. We set up our tents in a rough semicircle facing the ocean, about 20 feet apart, just wherever the sand was most level and safely away from where the tide might reach. We spent the evening collecting driftwood for a fire and cooking hot dogs. It was nothing extraordinary, just relaxing and watching the sunset. We were all tired from the drive, so we put out the fire around 10:30 and went to our tents. I remember falling asleep almost immediately, which was unusual for me. Normally, when I camp, I wake up every time the wind hits the tent or I hear animals moving outside, but that night, I was out cold, like someone had drugged me or something. When I woke up the next morning, I had a strange headache and my mouth felt extremely dry. I unzipped my tent to grab some water from my bag, but when I looked outside, I saw that our cars are not there where we parked. I could see them in the distance, about 100 yards down the beach. Both vehicles were parked in the sand, far from where we had parked them the night before. We had left them near the tree line on firm ground so they wouldn't get stuck. Now they were out on the open beach beyond the high tide line. I immediately started shouting for everyone to wake up. Tyler came out of his tent first. He looked at the cars and said, "What the hell?" Jenna and Matt came out a few seconds later, and I saw the same confusion on their faces. None of us remembered anything after going to sleep. Together, we walked down the beach to check on the cars. Both cars were locked, and the keys were still in our pockets. Nothing appeared damaged or missing. The tires weren't stuck in the sand, as if someone had carefully driven them onto the beach and left them. The strange part was that there were no tire tracks leading from where we had parked to where the cars were now. It looks like that someone had just lifted and moved two vehicles, but that's make no sense. We checked inside the cars. My backpack had been moved from the back seat to the trunk. Jenna's phone, which she was certain she'd left in the cup holder, was now in the glove box. Small things like that, just rearranged. Matt also noticed that the mileage on both cars was exactly the same as when we'd arrived. If anyone had driven them, even just down the beach, the odometer would have changed, but it hadn't. The four of us stood there trying to figure out what had happened. Tyler suggested maybe we'd all gotten drunk and moved the cars ourselves as a prank, but we'd only had a few beers each, definitely not enough to black out and forget something like that. Then Jenna mentioned a strange dream she'd had. She was in a hospital, being wheeled down a hallway while someone spoke to her, but she couldn't understand the words. Matt said he'd dreamed about being on a plane that never took off, just taxiing endlessly around the runway. I didn't remember dreaming at all, and neither did Tyler, but it felt odd that both Jenna and Matt had dreams about being transported or moved in some way. The mood between us was tense. No one said it aloud, but I think we were all silently realizing the same thing. Something had happened to us that we couldn't remember. We walked back to the campsite to pack up, but then we noticed the sand around our tents had strange, smooth patches, as if someone had carefully brushed over the footprints. The rest of the beach looked normal. We can see our footprints from the night before and the marks from dragging the driftwood, but right around the tents, the sand looked almost groomed. Tyler wanted to call the police, but what would we even say? Someone moved our cars but didn't steal anything and we slept through it? It sounded insane, even to us. In the end, we decided to just pack up and leave. While we were taking down the tents, Matt found a small digital voice recorder was half buried in the sand near the fire pit, but it did not belong to any of us. It looked like one of those inexpensive recorders you could buy at an office supply store. Matt picked it up and pressed play. At first there was only static. Then we heard heavy breathing, like someone running or exerting effort. After that, a male voice spoke something unclear. The sound was muffled and distorted. The only words we could clearly understand were, "All four of them, relocated, no complications." Then the recording stopped. We all stared at each other in silence. Suddenly, Jenna took the recorder from Matt and threw it as far as she could into the ocean. I think we all felt the same. We did not want to hear anything else or know what more it might contain. We packed up without saying a word and drove the cars back to solid ground. Before leaving, I glanced back at the beach. There was another car parked far away, about a quarter-mile down. I had not noticed it earlier that morning. I could not see anyone near it. The drive home felt tense. We had planned to stay 3 days, but now we just wanted to leave. Tyler and Jenna drove together, while Matt and I took the other car. Matt and I barely spoke during the 5-hour trip. When we did talk during the drive, it was only about simple things, what exit to take or whether we should stop for food. Neither of us wanted to mention what had happened. About a week later, I was on the phone with Tyler about something unrelated. He casually told me that he had gone to a walk-in clinic a few days after we returned. He had been feeling strange dizzy, with headaches and difficulty concentrating. The doctor asked if he had recently been exposed to carbon monoxide because his blood test showed possible signs of exposure. Tyler mentioned our camping trip, and the doctor explained that propane camping stoves can sometimes leak if they are not properly maintained. But we had not used a camping stove that night. We had cooked over an open wood fire. Still, it gave us a possible explanation. Maybe there had been a gas leak from one of the cars. Maybe we had all been affected and done things we could not remember. It did not fully make sense, but it felt easier than considering any other possibility. That was 2 years ago. The four of us continued living together for the rest of that year, but things were different after the trip. We were still friends, but there was a tension between us that had not existed before. It felt like we had all silently agreed not to discuss what happened, yet that unspoken agreement was always there, reminding us. After graduation, we grew apart. Tyler moved to Seattle for work. Jenna went to Texas for her master's degree. Matt returned to his hometown in Minnesota. I stayed in Oregon, not far from where we had gone camping that weekend. We still have a group chat. None of us has ever mentioned that night again. Sometimes I think about driving back to that spot to see if I can find it and understand what really happened, but I never go. I do not camp on beaches anymore. When friends suggest a remote group trip, I always find an excuse not to go. I tell myself it is because I'm busy or do not have the money. But the truth is, I still remember waking up that morning and seeing our cars parked out on the open beach.